Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for making time on a Friday afternoon. I know what Friday afternoons are like, to come and join us here at Cannon Hill Anglican College and I guess learn a little bit about what we do here as you prepare either to start Year 7 next year or entering our enrolment processes with interviews that are in August of this year. I want to thank you for your patience around having to postpone an earlier attempt to run this event. In hindsight, it was a really smart decision. There was a lot of work going on with concrete being removed and big trucks blocking streets, and so it would have been really awkward to have people trying to park and get in and out of the college. So thank you for your patience around that. Today's mini open day will be a little bit different to a normal open day, but hopefully just as informative and just as interesting. After some time listening to me here in the auditorium, we'll be breaking up into groups, and that's why you've been given a letter, a group number. So you'll be going and working your way around 4 different stations where different members of the college leadership team will talk to you about, at one of them, curriculum and what we do in the teaching and learning space, pastoral care, our performance music and sports program, which are probably our 2 biggest areas, but certainly not the only areas that we spread out and get ourselves involved in. And the 4th one is around our enterprise and extracurricular activities. So you'll be walking around with our students who are here as tour guides, and I encourage you to ask them anything that you want to about the school, about their experience, about how things work or don't work. They tend to be very, very honest, which we think is a really good attribute to have as a student of our school. So they will be very honest with you, and we love it. They are, in fact, our best advocates, so please enjoy that time with them. I think you'll have had a chance to catch up with Christy and Bronwyn out in the foyer, but if you've got any questions around processes and the like from here on, then please do speak to them. If you've been following the press over recent times, you will have read significant commentary, and I'll use the word commentary, on education and the many challenges that education faces, whether it be the number of teachers who are leaving the profession, whether it be the small number of people who are training to join the profession, whether it be the decrease in the number of places that are becoming available, whether it's about the impacts of technology on students and on their learning and on their ability to engage, whether it be on behaviour that happens in schools, whether it be, and dare I say it, and I know no one here will fit into this category, but parent behaviour, which has certainly been another issue. There are lots of things that are saying that this is a profession and an area that there are some real challenges in, and we certainly don't deny that there are, but we're actually really happy with where we're at. We have a really positive outlook on education. We have people and teachers who are really committed to providing the best possible educational experience they can for your children and our community on a daily basis. They are really dedicated to helping every student find out what their passion is, and we talk a lot about finding or discovering your passion and then pursuing it. And one of the consequences of that is that you end up finding your tribe, and that's the people who you are going to really connect with long term. The people who are going to be your friends, not just for the time you're at the school, but actually once you leave school. And what I find really interesting is the number of students who come back who can still tell me about 7, 8, 10, 20 of the people they went to school with because they stay connected. And I think that's a really important element of what happens in a school like ours. We are Cannon Hill Anglican College, and the picture of the gentleman in the top right-hand corner is Archbishop Jeremy Greaves. He was made Archbishop at the end of last year, or towards the end of last year. Before that, he was actually chair of the Anglican Schools Commission, which oversees the Anglican schools. He is a great supporter of education and a great supporter of schools. And what I thought I would do is just share a couple of quotes that came out of correspondence that he delivered around some of the issues around church schools that have appeared in the press and in the news in the last couple of years. And I think they sum up where we stand as a school. and I certainly use this, and you will see these again as parents in the future. We acknowledge and celebrate variety within both our student and staff memberships. We invite and welcome all, and hospitality is given to every student, no matter their race, gender, sexuality, ideology, ability, disability, or religion. No one is excluded, and it's really that sense of inclusion that is really important to us. Second one, along the same lines, the Anglican Church in its long history has come to value diversity as a positive good, and our schools know the gifts that diversity brings to any community. The only precondition for membership in our schools, outside fees, is respect. Respect for our ethos and the gospel at its heart. So if you're thinking about what's the Anglican element of Cannon Hill about, I think that's a really quick summary. There's a lot more information that you'll hear and a lot more that you'll pick up as time goes by, but I think that's a really good place to actually begin. As usual, I lose track of what I'm doing, but I'm going to do my best to stay on track today. As an educational community, we aspire to prepare your child for a future where creativity, innovation, hard work, genuine and respectful relationships, and that's certainly an issue that we're hearing a lot about, again in the press right now, and rich values flourish. We are future focused as a college, grounded in research-supported practice. So we always, when we do something, we look for the research that's going to support it. We have a philosophy that encourages the adoption of new ways of knowing, being and doing. And two of the highly desirable characteristics that I talk a lot about, and students, if there are any other senior students in here, they'd probably be rolling their eyes about now. I talk about grit. Now, grit is the passion and perseverance required to overcome the obstacles and challenges that lie in the path of worthwhile accomplishments. A principle that will be important in the world of the future, and certainly one that's in contradiction to gaming that's 30 seconds and jumping here, there and everywhere. The other one is empathy, which is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. And a really important element to what we do here is that empathy and understanding for people. I'll talk about it in a little while, but gratitude is a word I really like bringing to the fore and talking to our students about. We have a motto that says courage and compassion, and that sits at the forefront of what we want our students to become. We want them to be compassionate, we want them to be very courageous, standing up, not being an innocent bystander, all of those sorts of things. And the personal values of respect, humility, and kindness. And kindness is one of the things that our college captains talk a lot about when they stand up at assembly, because I think it's something that our world is losing touch with an awful lot, and so I really enjoy when they do that. Our greatest assets, or our two greatest assets, are our students and our staff. And from the group that finished earlier this evening or this afternoon, the feedback that we've had is just how impressed they were by our students. And we are, on a daily basis, impressed by our students. The way that they care for one another, the way they respect one another, and the commitment that they have to one another is a really important element of what we do here. Our staff, likewise, dedicated, committed, there to make sure that every child gets the best possible educational experience that they can. As I said earlier, while you're out on your tours, please do ask our students. They will happily share what their journey's been so far. They are our more senior students, so they are our year 10s, 11s, and there's a few year 12s as well, which I thought was really impressive on a Friday afternoon to volunteer, because there was no conscription this year round, to be here because they just wanted to talk about it. And I think for them, they're getting to that point where the end is in sight. So they spend a lot of time early on, can't wait till I finish school, can't wait till I finish school. Now it's kind of 6 months away, and it gets a little bit different, a little bit more real, I think, for them. So please do ask them. If you've read any of our enrolment procedures or our prospectuses, you'll have seen the statement of mission that sits up there in the top corner. We are about an holistic education. And a holistic education has a number of dimensions to it, each of which is equally important. So sport isn't the most important thing here, but it's a key element. Academics is important, and I'll never say that it isn't. Is it the most important? Not necessarily always for every person, but it will be a key element. And there are 6 of them there, and I'm going to keep them in order: intellectual, physical, social, emotional, spiritual, and aesthetic, which I think is a really interesting one, which is about appreciation of what you see and have around you. We have a vision that says we wish to be distinctively innovative, distinctively successful and sustainable in the context of an Anglican co-educational setting. And so we do like trying different things. We don't have to do things the way we've always done them. We have a staff that are encouraged to look at what's new, to try things that are new, and to really, I guess, push the boundaries to make education a really exciting place to be. In explaining what makes CHAC, I often talk about the 3 R's, and they're not the 3 R's that were in place when I went to school, but relationships, respect and rapport. And it's those things between our staff and our student is what I think makes CHAC so special. There is a really strong bond that develops and often continues past school, where students come back to talk to the staff that they had at school and tell them what they're doing, or to come back and say thank you. We've had some really interesting letters come from past students apologising for their behaviour, often when they were at school, but just as a sign of appreciation for what they got out of their time here at CHAC and what they were now doing in their lives. So that's always very exciting. We do, and we're always thinking about what is our strategic intent. That's what drives decision making within the college. What is it that we're actually trying to achieve? And so we spend a lot of time in that strategic space, whether you talk about it as strategic planning, strategic thinking, strategic intent, but it's what drives us. We've had a number, and we're continually evolving our strategic intent so that it grows on our past endeavours. The most recent 2 are these 2, teaching how to learn well and teaching to grow intellectual capacity, build character, nurture dispositions and develop faith. And if I had a lot more time, I'd really love to go into each of those in depth to talk about this is what we're getting at here, this is how we go about achieving that. Our latest evolution talks about a strategic intent that is developing world and work-ready individuals, which is focused on students who are moving into a world that was very, very different to what we moved into when we were young. That ability or that necessity to be agile, flexible, to have great interpersonal skills, the ability to solve problems, creativity, curiosity, all of those things are key elements of what we are striving to instill in our students so they are prepared for whatever it is that is going to come in the future. And we want it to be an exciting place thinking about the future, not a place that you worry about. Academically, CHAC is recognised as a high-performing school. I'm not a great lover of the Courier Mail, but occasionally they publish lists that I'm happy to reflect on. We were in the top 10 secondary schools in Queensland in their list last week. This comes on top of being recognised for our creativity and our innovation in a number of areas. Our Year 12 students do really well. They perform and go on to do great things. And really for us, it's about helping them get where they want to get. And for some of them, that's very, very high flying. For others, it's not necessarily, but it is about helping every student to work out where it is where they want to go and then assisting them to get there. Other things that we're involved in is a lot of competitions. So we do enter things like a competition called the Da Vinci Decathlon, which is a 10-section team competition that's extremely academic. We perform exceptionally well in that. Our Year 10 team is off to the national titles in the second week of the school holidays, so the last weekend of June. We had a number of other teams placed in the top 3. We're the top performing team in that school in that competition in the state of Queensland and have been for a number of years. We enter into OptiMinds, which is a creativity, curiosity type competition. Again, a lot based on working in teams and developing and presenting and all of those sorts of things. And currently we hold all of the titles in Queensland. So again, perform really well there. And another one that we've got into in the last 3 years is the Ethics Olympiad, where students have to argue ethics. And when I sit and listen to some of these Year 9 students arguing ethical arguments, I just feel inept. I think I should just go and shoot a basketball like I did when I was in Year 9. It's phenomenal to hear them. But there are lots of opportunities, and outside that there's the arts. We have lots of opportunities. Drama is a big team play here. We've had our own play for the very first time this year that our students were involved in writing with a local playwright. We do run a musical every second year, so there's lots of opportunities in that art space. Enterprise, which you'll hear a bit more about when you go out on your tours, again is another real focus. We have every student engaged in an enterprise program in secondary schools, 7 to 10 every year. We do have lots of lovely buildings, and you're in the later session, so it's a bit darker out there, so you probably haven't seen all of our buildings, but over the last 10 years we've built a lot of new learning spaces, and they're great spaces. Currently, and the reason for all of the disruption is that we've got two major projects in play. The first one is our sports centre, which is that way, and an admin and wellness building, which is that way. And as you walk around, you might see some signs stuck to the wall, which if you've got a QR code, you can actually get some images of those. They're pretty good images of what we're doing at the moment. The indoor sports centre will have 2 indoor courts, a gym and some class teaching spaces. Our admin and wellness building will have a very pastoral wellness focused ground level. Our teaching staff will be on the 2nd level, and our staff facilities will sit on the 3rd level. We're very excited about that. That will be completed and in use in 2025, so everybody here is going to get the benefit of that, not those who are about to leave the school who've been hearing about it. We first wanted to build the sports centre in 2019, but then something happened the year after. I can't remember what it was, some sort of virus or something, and we had to put it all on hold, and we've had a lot of work to get to where we get to. But for all that, great schools aren't about great buildings or buildings of any sort at all. They are actually about culture, they're about community, and they're about heart and soul. They're about a sense of connection, an alignment, a sense of belonging, and I hope that as you visit today, you'll start to pick up on some of those elements, because I think that is really what makes CHAC the way it is. Often I get asked, as a parent, what did I look for in a school? And I'll tell you, I've had 3 students, they did all go to CHAC. They're all very, very different, but they all found their passion. They all found what it is that they want to do. They're all doing very different things now. They still have CHAC friends, which I find scary. I think I don't have any friends that I went to school with that I still connect with, but they just build these friendships that they just keep going on and continuing with, which is great. But as a parent, I said there were 4 things I looked for: a safe and positive environment, a place where my student was known, and so I knew that there would be people looking out for the opportunities that were going to be best for them, a rigorous, relevant and diverse education delivered by people who were really committed to doing so, and a culture where, and I mentioned this earlier, my child will be taught to be grateful for what they receive. Students who come here are very lucky, and sometimes it can lead to a sense of almost entitlement, but that's something that we work really hard to make sure doesn't happen, because it is about being grateful. And our Social Justice Committee are on fire this year. They're raising food for local food bank, a local food bank, so that people in our area who can't afford to eat are being fed. And every time a different house takes on this competition, more and more stuff is coming in, and it's almost become a really huge thing for our college, which I think is great, because that's the sort of gratitude that we want our students to have when they leave here. I'm often asked about expectations of parents, so we certainly look for our parents to enter into a partnership with us. And it's not always going to be a smooth partnership, and I think that's where the trust that we start building right from the start becomes really important. There will be times when there are difficult issues and matters to be dealt with, and that's when it really comes down to the strength of that trust and that relationship that we've built. We certainly have expectations in the way we will communicate with you, and our expectations would be similar for you communicating with us. And we all know that we're in a world where the way people communicate because of social media isn't the way we'd probably like it to be. And we certainly work really hard to make sure that we maintain really strong, positive communication and relationships with our parents. almost at the end of what I need to say to you today. We do have a P&F, and again, I encourage people to get involved. I think the best piece of advice I ever gave anybody was to make sure that you know the parents of your children's friends. It made life a whole lot easier. Even my kids tried to tell me that I was the only parent that wouldn't let them do whatever it was they wanted to do. Everybody else's parents would let them do it. Every other kid was allowed to do it except mine. If you know the parents and you can talk to them, that conversation really gets shut down really quite quickly. So I do encourage you to do that and to get involved with our PNF, because that's where you do get your sense of belonging. It's where you do make some really good friends. So I do encourage that as well. I'm thinking it's time for me to let you get going on your tours. So again, thank you for coming along today. Please do ask our students anything you want to know as they tour around. I hope you have an enjoyable evening, and I look forward to catching up with you in the near future.